for Mr. Davey Pitcher.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. I know that this issue with Reservoir Hill and the chairlift has been off and on and tabled a couple times, and I do appreciate having a few minutes of your time. So what I'm going to do is just read a kind of a compilation of some thoughts that I have about the chairlift and Reservoir Hill. This document is intended to further clarify and memorialize for the record my position regarding the proposed Reservoir Hill project. Sometime during the early summer of 2010, I was contacted by David Pitcher, who explained there was some interest in building a chairlift on Reservoir Hill and requested that I participate in a field visit. As the CEO of Wolf Creek Ski Area, a 30-year veteran of building and operating chairlifts, and a concerned member of this community, I gladly accepted. And when I say a concerned member of the community, I understand the reasoning behind trying to look at all avenues for economic development and trying to bolster up the economy. And I certainly understand that that's something that you know, the city manager is tasked with, and that you guys are thinking about. I also have a lot of experience in relocating chairlifts, making chairlifts longer, making them shorter. And so I was kind of interested in the project. The other intriguing part about it at the time was the northeast side, which I'll get into in a minute. During the field visit, I tried to remain objective and learn the lay of the land. I was interested in who owns the land, the intended use of the lift, and the slope and aspects of the proposed site to determine the potential for quality ski terrain. And these were some of my observations. The first thing I learned was that the northeast side of the hill is not owned by the town of Pagosa Springs. Second thing was that the true north-facing slope, a lot of it runs into a cliff that either drops into the San Juan River or into private properties at a slope angle of excess 25 degrees. The entire hill, like most of Pagosa, has extremely fragile layer of topsoil with inorganic lunar soil, that black shale that we all know and love so much, the ponderosa pine trees. I learned that part of the overall vision was to create not only a small community ski hill, but also a viable lift or transportation system for summer use, special events, weddings, the folk festival. So we had a short discussion regarding other uses, such as alpine slides, bathrooms, amphitheaters, and also talked about parking issues. After walking the grounds and listening to Mr. Mitchum and Mr. Hart, I made these suggestions. Because the town of Pagosa Springs doesn't own the northeast facing property, it really hinders the chance of creating a small community ski hill with the proper skiable terrain. The site over there on Highway 84, I believe well, there's several owners over there, but that whole cul-de-sac and that corner and the hillside going to the top definitely is the best for possibly having a little ski area. I suggested that the town contact these landowners and ask if they would consider selling or leasing the property. Both options would obviously significantly increase the cost of the project. While some of the north side, Highway 160 side, would ski pretty well during a banner snow year, advanced skiers would have to choose between a very steep to very flat transition, or worse yet, a very steep cliff into a river. The potential of a tourist ducking a rope line, skiing off the cliff, and falling into the San Juan River raises the potential of insurance rate-related litigation and creates a need for significantly more staffing. So, that north-facing side, if you look behind the Everday and along there, you could potentially ski that, but it's pretty complicated. It's again owned by a lot of private landowners. Whenever you have a real steep hill to a flat hill, that's kind of a problem too, especially if you don't own the property and there's buildings there. So this leaves the west and southwest side as potential terrain. I'd say that snowmaking could possibly be considered, but without knowing the city's water rights, I'm not sure if this would be a viable option. I also discussed the huge energy costs, noise pollution that accompanies snowmaking. Furthermore, in order to effectively make snow, swaths of trees would need to be cut down, which would be highly visible from people's homes and the traveling public. This kind of defoliation on such a large scale would trigger expensive and possibly unsuccessful revegetation efforts on Reservoir Hill's black lunar dirt. And this, in some regards, was verified by Krista Monroe, and who runs the folk festival. She has been responsible for bringing that area back to health after the folk festival, putting down straw and trying to keep the erosion down. And she's expressed concerns that if we had too many venues up there without some significant changes to the venue, that there would be some concern about defoliating the understory. And when I talk about the clear cutting, to effectively make snow, you need to have a big area for the plume to float. So that would mean a garden-like mosaic of trees, getting rid of hazard trees and bug trees. It would mean a big, wide swath, and when you come down Putt Hill on that, looking at that west and southwest side, you'd see those. Just from looking at that hillside and the dirt that's there, you could easily create a big erosion problem, and some ski areas have created some considerable erosion problems by getting ahead of themselves and clear cutting. There's not a lot of topsoil, so to save it and try to put it back down. I just have my doubts that is possible, and if it's possible, it's not going to be cheap. And I certainly think that it would be important that the community really get a chance to visualize and think about what that would look like. So those were some of my basic observations. In these discussions, I did spend considerable time explaining my experience in purchasing and relocating used chairlifts. I advise that if the town purchased a used chairlift, it should be longer and larger than that of the Kachar lift for the intended new location. This allows the design engineer to pick and choose from the best parts and have a spare parts for the future. I was concerned at the outset for their vision of the summer-winter chairlift. And I want to be clear, I'm not so concerned about visions and ideas in summer and winter use, but using a chairlift, specifically one that with the idea of having it be inexpensive. So this makes the design criteria considerably more complicated and expensive. I explained the Colorado Passenger Tramway Safety Board, and that's the governing body that controls all lift installations and operations in Colorado. Essentially, they treat a used or relocated lift the same as a new lift. They must meet all the current Colorado and American National Standard Institute codes. Maintaining and operating a lift for winter use requires significant recurring maintenance investment. Expanding lift operations year-round makes operating a used lift even more impractical. I also explained that using a lift for downloading increases the cost of the lift considerably. You need additional shiv assemblies, more robust braking system, restrictive, and they're fairly restrictive loading and unloading ramp designs. Almost all lifts in the United States have a very limited downhill capacity, usually less than 1% of uphill capacity. Although the Colorado Transportation Safety Board allows a summer use lift to run at 300 feet per minute, it is virtually which is a chair every 6 seconds, by the way, if you have standard spacing of about 50 feet. It is virtually impossible to load and unload uphill and downhill traffic without significantly more time than 6 seconds. This is especially true when dealing with people that have special needs, such as the elderly, disabled, or people carrying coolers, backpacks, and chairs. While looking at the vision of Reservoir Hill, it seemed that more and more practical issues were surfacing, in addition to the improper so there were some fairly considerable roadblocks that I saw. The visual impacts to Reservoir Hill, winter clear-cut trails, defoliation, and erosion issues. Night skiing and bright lights was talked about, and again, the community that's got to look at this hillside, they definitely need to know if that's going to be something that's really looked at, because once you get night skiing going, you create a whole other type of light and lighting, and it certainly is used. It's used over in Durango, it's used in Canada, but people need to be aware that it's going to significantly change the nighttime ambiance of the roadside. Snowmaking is loud and uses lots of water, and that's a very real issue, both the noise, the water, and the electricity. Staffing, the need for significant winter payroll for patrol, lift mechanics, operators, ticketing, parking, and snow removal. That it's easy to say that you only need a couple lift operators, but you have to have an operating plan that deals with the people that are on that hill, keeping them from falling into the river, so on and so forth. So potential for significant lawsuits and litigation, insurance, and the minute you get a chairlift, you have in the Colorado Tramway Board code the highest level of care is required for the loading and unloading. So if someone gets clobbered by a chairlift and they're hit in the perimeter of the bull wheel, it's not covered by the Colorado Skier Safety Act. That's a real red flag from a liability standpoint. And so you just have to be very careful and aware that is not a no-brainer. Inoperable lifts during rain and thunder. Downloading inebriated people. The idea of summer use starts to add all these other components. Downloading late at night. And I might add that the idea of a lift for downloading, even if you had a fairly modern one that did have a braking system that would allow more than a tiny amount of downhill traffic, you have these venues that everybody gets out at one time, and they all want to get down off the mountain. And if there's rainstorm right then, it's going to be problematic. So it seems like the busing system is still going to have to be a component of any of the music venues that go on up there. And then parking, and again, the parking I think is always an issue in any city. When you build a chairlift and you only have one point that everybody's riding up the lift, it may still require shuttle buses to get people to and from the bottom of the lift to the parking lot. So I'm not sure there's a net gain. And again, these are just observations at this point. So, Mr. Mathis, if Wolf Creek Ski Area would like to participate in investing in this project and sharing its profits, I was clear that I was not interested, seriously doubted that the project would succeed financially. Met with the town council and cautioned against buying the Kachara lift. This advice wasn't heeded. At the time of the meeting, there was, in my opinion, undue pressure to purchase that particular lift. The advice of Chuck Peterson of Tramway Engineering was to come up with a business plan, look at what type of uses you're going to have, budget for a significantly more expensive lift if it fits the business plan. It's my belief now that if this lift can be sold, it probably should be. Every day it sits there, it becomes less of a chairlift and more of a pile of iron. And that's not, I don't want to be negative, but I want to be realistic. And it's just the way chairlifts are. That lift wasn't licensed and it hasn't run for over a decade now, 14 years I believe. And to bring it up to code in this application would be good money after bad. To leave it and kind of not get it on the market, I would strongly advise to try to sell it because I just don't think it's going to get any more valuable as time goes by. There may be a chance that it does have some value, but the longer lifts sit out in the ground and off the mountain, the longer they lower their value usually is. In closing, it's my strongest wish to see Pagosa, its residents, and its businesses succeed and prosper. I don't believe it is in the best interest of this community to undertake massive debt, owe significant interest on that debt, and become trapped by the recurring expenses of this project. Electricity, wear and tear parts, Colorado Transportation Safety Board inspections, non-destructive testing, cable inspections, unforeseen mechanical failures, unforeseen electrical failures due to lightning, and payroll for medical staff, payroll for ski patrol, payroll for lift attendants, payroll for operators, payroll for mechanics, and for administrating liability claims, and payroll for the parking staff and snow removal, among other things. Again, for the record, as CEO of Wolf Creek Ski Area and on behalf of the Pitcher family, we will always look for ways to help Pagosa if it makes sense and is supported by the community. In no way do I see this vision of Reservoir Hill as either supported by the community or having a chance of success. Therefore, I need to be clear that neither now or in the future does Wolf Creek want to participate in the project. We certainly look at projects and continue to want to help where we can in Pagosa, but I don't see a future with that particular business model. So, does anybody have any questions? I know it's kind of a strong letter, but I just felt that there was some implied language in a letter from Chuck Peterson to me that there was a misunderstanding possibly that I was going to run this lift and wasn't going to charge the town of Pagosa. I certainly didn't plan on doing that ever, and I'm sure it was a misunderstanding, but I did really look at it, and I was pretty enthusiastic about an idea of a small community hill. The side that really works for a small community hill isn't owned by Pagosa though, and so there's other issues kind of arise. The steps that have been taken on Reservoir Hill, the road improvement that was done, I think that really helped with buses last year with the Folk Festival. The trail networks and the uses that it already has, I think could be expanded and another feather in Pagosa's cap. As far as big investment items, there's a lot of ski areas that have tried to operate in the summer and make money with joyrides or amusement park type activity. And they're few and far between that they actually produce a net income. I would suggest maybe looking at an ice skating rink. I don't know if anybody's ever really thought about that, but the town of Pagosa could certainly benefit the community. The kids that play football and participate in the sports activities would benefit. And Reservoir Hill could probably be improved without getting into a big mechanical structure of rides that are really going to be cumbersome in my opinion. So appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.